If you have a rising third grader and you're looking for some ideas for math curricula, stay tuned. Hi everybody, welcome back to Project Happy Home. For those of you who are new here, I'm Tanya, a Dr. Lawyer turned homeschooling mom of 3 kids ages 8, 5, and 3. In this video, I'll be going over some of the resources I plan to use with my rising third grader for next year. Although it looks like quite a bit right now, we might not do every single page of this curricula, and some of it I actually bought way earlier, way in advance when my child was in first grade, which is something I don't recommend you doing. So this is precisely the reason why you shouldn't do that, because as you get to the grade level, sometimes you'll decide you don't want to use those resources. For me, I have 2 other kids coming up after him, so I feel kind of safe. If we don't end up using something, I will use it for them. But right now, this is what we plan on using, and I'll just go over every single workbook individually, as well as this, which is one of the new manipulatives we got. To start off with our core, these 2 curricula are probably going to form the core of our curriculum. One of them is Math Mammoth, and I had these printed by the Homeschool printing company, which I will link down below. They did a great job, and I just didn't want to go through the hassle because it was so many different pages. And the other part of our core curricula will be Mathematical Reasoning by Critical Thinking Company Level D. I had done an in-depth review of the Level C Mathematical Reasoning book. We really enjoyed it. I think it's a great book for introducing higher level mathematical concepts, and I look forward to using it again this year. So I'm just going to do a quick flip through of the Level D Mathematical Reasoning book. It definitely does follow a very similar format to the Level C book, which we really enjoyed using. It goes through different types of math. So each page will address either numbers and operations, algebra, geometry, measurement, or data analysis and probability. I really like that. I feel like instead of just focusing on arithmetic, it focuses on what real-world applications of math would be. It also addresses logic in this book and just higher-level algebraic concepts, so it prepares them. For example, the concept of symbols, standing in for numbers. It's very colorful. It has things about money. You can see very early on it gets into 3-digit math. There's a lot of geometry in there, and I just really like how the book is designed. It actually, I think, is a little bit more focused on mathematical concepts and theory than it is on, for example, drill work like multiplication. So the way it approaches mathematical concepts is advanced, whereas the way it approaches drill work is maybe not as advanced as where you would expect to see at page like 95 of a 3rd grade workbook here, which I like because I feel like it keeps my son, who is at grade level for math, feeling very comfortable as the year progresses. So he feels confident about where he is in drill work as he goes on. It addresses things like perimeter, money, rounding, etc. And there are answers in the back, so you don't have to stress yourself out if you have lots of kids and you don't want to grade everything. So as I mentioned, Math Mammoth is going to be the other part of our core, and I had Homeschool Printing Company print these out for me. The way that I arranged the PDFs, I just didn't want bulky workbooks for him, so I had the 3A work text and the 3B work text bound, and then I had the tests bound here, and then the answer keys for everything, the tests and the workbooks bound together for me. Homeschool Printing Company, by the way, did a great job. I'll link them down below. This is part of the Light Blue series, and basically the Light Blue series is sort of more of a standard mathematical curricula going through various different concepts, including addition, subtraction, multiplication, clocks, and money in a stepwise fashion. It does have a little bit of a Singapore flair because it talks about this type of mental math where you split out numbers to make it easier for you. For example, 50 plus 14 is 50 plus 10 plus 4. So I like that it stays with that same type of theory. It does get into Roman numerals and money. I like that it has color, but not too much, so it's not very distracting. It does have word problems in it. Another nice feature about this curriculum is she references many different websites that you can use to use supplements like multiplication memory games, camel times tables, cookie capers. So if you want to do more, you can. If you want to stick to the straightforward math workbook style, you can do that as well. For the cost, I think that Math Mammoth is extraordinarily well done. It has very little fluff, but she includes so many optional resources that you can then draw on that it's really great. And I love that it's in color. but again, not too much. You have this type of fill-in, and it goes on, and it's much more typical math book than the mathematical reasoning book. So it kind of marches through different concepts, but without being too heavy. Whenever I look at a Saxon math book, I know immediately that for my child, that would not work out at all. Because he would look at how many problems there were on a page and just rebel. So again, the second book goes through this place value, geometry, measuring, division, and fractions. And that's basically the curricula for the year. So I'm just going to quickly flip through so you can see what it looks like. And I'm really excited to use it. I think if you do go through Math Mammoth, all the levels, you will have a very orderly progression through math. I don't think that you're going to be having any holes in your math education. And just to show you what the tests look like, they very closely align with the workbook, so there's no surprises, and they're not very long. So the Chapter 5 test is just 1 page, for example. And then this is what the answer keys look like. Very clearly labeled, nice and spacious. I kind of have a problem with answer keys sometimes where you have to use a magnifying glass to figure out what the answer is. But these are really well done, and I'm excited to use it. For those of you who watch my videos, you know that I bought Beast Academy for next year as well, and I bought the entire 3 levels, so 3A through 3D. However, upon greater reflection and listening to some of the comments that you posted, as well as some of the advice from my friends who've used Beast Academy, I decided to go back a grade level and to start off in the middle of grade level 2, so level 2B for my son, because although he's on grade level, he's definitely not like hyper advanced in math or anything, and I want him to learn a new curricula with a certain amount of comfort. So we're going to go ahead and start with 2B. I didn't buy 2C or 2D because I don't know if this will be too easy for him or not, but we're just going to go ahead and start with it. So Beast Academy is great because it has this very graphic novel approach, and I did a more in-depth review of level 3, so if you want to go ahead and see that video, I will link it up above. But I think my son is going to love this. It's like cartoon based, and he just adores graphic novels and cartoons, and I think it'll be a really fun supplement for him. So we're definitely using this as a supplement and not a core, though it is designed to be used as either. You can see that it has algebraic concepts introduced and just interesting ways of approaching math. So again, not your typical workbook. As always, we are using Mindbenders by Critical Thinking Company. We're going to use book 3, which is designed for grades 3 through 6. And you've seen me show you these books before, but they're designed to be little mysteries. So the student has a couple of clues at the top, and then they cross out answers within the puzzle. For example, like this. So based on the clues, they say well, you know, Liz could not possibly been in a car because they said that she was in the air, etc. And then they figure out the mystery. And it's just a really fun logic exercise for kids. I really recommend them. Even my rising first grader will be using her level this year. I bought these 3 Kumon books as a part of a set from Zulily.com once, and I'm happy that I bought it, but I don't think I needed to because we're using Math Mammoth and it has so much good drill work. This is really useful for drill work. I don't like using Kumon math books for your standard curricula because I think they're really boring. As you can see, it's just a series of problems. So you have multi-digit subtraction and multi-digit addition in this one. And typically my son doesn't like drill work, but I find it to be really good practice. And I think the way you develop speed in arithmetic is really by doing drill work. I'm a traditionalist in that sense. And so this isn't a book that we have to finish this year or anything. I think that this is a really useful car book, for example, or just, you know, to have in your purse for when kids are waiting for things, etc., or just to do time drills to see, like, you know, set the timer for 2 minutes and see how many you can finish. This will not be a workbook that we do page by page. I do like this geometry and measurement book though, because I feel like a lot of times that sort of measurement in particular is ignored in traditional curricula. So I think that this will be a good little supplement to shore up those skills. And again, in no way do I think this has to be done all in 3rd grade. And then again, here's a drill workbook for multiplication. Although my son is familiar with his multiplication tables, he does not have them all down, and I think this will just be a good way of like getting them all down. As I've explained to him, sometimes you just have to be able to know things. Like you just have to know that 4 times 7 is 28, etc. This is a math minutes book. Again, this is a book that I probably would not have bought now, but I did have it, so I think it might be useful to use again as a car book. It just has different problems. What I might do with this book, honestly, is save it for the summer. It might be a really good summer math book in between 3rd grade and 4th grade, just to keep his skills sharp. Buckle Down, North Carolina 4th edition, EOG. I don't even know what the EOG is, but it's basically a practice book for tests, for standardized test taking. Because in the state of North Carolina, you do take a standardized test at the end of the year, I just thought it might be a good little supplement. Again, like a car book or something, just where periodically I look at it to make sure that my son knows how to do this type of math. We might actually never write in this book. It might just be for my own, you know, teacher comfort, so that I know that he can do this. And in all honesty, that's probably how we will use it, so that I can save it for all of the girls. One of the math manipulatives we'll continue to use this year are these math wrap-ups. If you want to see me talk about this in more detail, go ahead and check out my video about our end of the year review for 2nd grade math. This Sudoku game board is another thing that we will continue using this year. Again, I talk about that in more detail in my end of the year review for 2nd grade math. This, however, is a totally new resource to us, and it's a little bit of a Montessori-based method of doing multiplication and division. So as you can see here, you have 1 through 10 across the top of the board, and I actually have to learn about how to appropriately use this, but you also have these little wooden tiles with numbers right here. So you have like 6, for example, and if you want to do your 6 times tables, you can take this little box full of wooden beads. So again, this is definitely more appropriate for an older child than a younger child, because these beads are quite small and do present a choking hazard. You can fill up the board. Based on how these roll, I really do recommend doing this on carpet or in a tray, so that you kind of have control over the numbers. But I will learn more about how to use this, and if you guys have tips, especially those of you who are really into Montessori, I would love to know more. But I think it's a really nice way of just practicing visually seeing how multiplication works. So these were basically our supplies, you guys, for 3rd grade math, and I'm so excited to get to 3rd grade math, because I feel like it's getting fun now. Like he really understands all his, like, you know, basic fundamental arithmetic concepts, and we can start to talk about what makes math so entertaining, like the word problems that are fun, like the frogs that jump into wells and jump out and slide back every day, etc. So I am a dork. I think that's entertaining. But again, if you want to see any of these curricula in more depth, let me know, and I will do a mid-year review or even an early fall review to let you know how it's going and to show you more pages, etc. I'd love to know more about what types of things you guys are planning on using with your rising 3rd graders, and especially your rising 4th graders, so that I can start planning for the future. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope this was helpful, and I wish you the very best day.